Good morning. All right. Today is lesson 215. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. Lesson 215 is a review of lesson 195. We will begin and end each session with the theme behind this review lesson, which is, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. The Holy Spirit is my only guide. The Holy Spirit walks with me in love. And I give thanks to the Holy Spirit for showing me the way to go. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And that's our lesson for today. I'm going to go read the notes from lesson 195, because this review lesson is focused on that. And then Tom's going to lead us in a little activity to help bring the lesson home. So here we go to 195. I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. All right, lesson 195. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. Gratitude is a hard lesson for some of us to learn, as the first sentence in the lesson. And here's what it talks about. In our ego's fearful world, we're told that we should be grateful because we suffer less than someone else. Because our ego sees separation everywhere, it claims that we should be thankful because suffering appears to be unequal, and there's always someone who suffers more than you. Gratitude is difficult to learn when you view the world as a place of sacrifice and struggle. Our ego's belief in lack, limitation, and separation requires that you must learn what you have. Because of this, we see our brother in competition for the limited resources we both need for our survival, peace, and happiness. Our brother becomes our rival, and rivals become our enemies. Love makes no comparisons, and gratitude can only be sincere if it's joined with love. Our gratitude is because God's love means that all will be healed from our split minds' belief in separation. God's plan guarantees our happiness and peace. In us, all things will find the freedom that comes from right-mindedness, which is our return to only love. We are grateful that we are not separate from one living thing. Therefore, we are one with all, and one with God, our source. There are no exceptions to this oneness, for God is our completion. We give thanks for all living things, which are God's gifts to us. Love makes no comparisons. When you compare, your egoic mind is splitting off and dividing the inseparable whole into separate, autonomous parts. By comparing, our ego is breaking up the unity of the one self that we all share. Love makes no comparisons. Why? Because when you compare, you separate. And when you separate, you judge. And when you judge, you make separation appear real. When there is separation, you have competition. When you compete, you have rivals. When you have rivals, you believe there are outside forces that can rob you of your peace and happiness. When there are outside forces that can affect you, you need plans for your own self-defense. When others fail to follow your ego's plan for your happiness, grievances are sure to arise. When grievances arise, you become trapped by your own unforgiving mind in its prison of fear and hatred. With all these interactions, hatred is forgotten when you make no comparisons. Forgive without comparing or judging. When you follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit, you forgive all because you realize that all have earned the right to love by being loving. This also includes yourself. You have been given everything. And if you refuse to recognize everything is yours, you're not entitled to be bitter or jealous of anyone. When you give your future over to the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit will replace your ego's belief in lack, limitation, and separation with gratitude for God's love. You are unlimited and have been given everything. You are one with all, and thus one with God. What more could you want to be grateful for? True gratitude can only be sincere when it's joined with love. When your forgiveness is total and complete, you will have total gratitude, and the fear of God disappears. Now, there's only a God of love that has given all to all. We have been given everything, for we all share the mind of God. Where either gratitude or love is found, the other is also there, for gratitude is an aspect of love. Our gratitude paves the way to God. God is completion, and therefore you must be complete. God is grateful for you, for you are God's completion. You should be grateful for God, for God's will is only that you, His child, be happy and at peace. And the question of the day is, what are you grateful for? All of these come from Tom's book, Understanding A Course in Miracles Workbook Lessons, How to End the Blame, Shame, Guilt, and Fear with Love and Forgiveness. Tom, you ready for the activity?
Yeah, we'll do something a little bit different today, perhaps. The question was, what are you grateful for? And we all have various things that we've been grateful for. And I just want to give you uh, thing that I'm grateful for and appreciating, and maybe give an illustration of our journey and our journey to rediscovery and reawakening. Long, long time ago, there were two individual aspects of the one self, and they were happy and everything, but they wanted to experience this idea of that they were totally loving and they were love. And so they decided to go on this adventure into time and space to demonstrate what love would have them do, to demonstrate in a world of seeming fear that they could be loving, that they could demonstrate various aspects of the truth of what they were. And as they went on this adventure together, they had promised each other that even though they would play roles in this dimension of time and space, they would never forget that those were just roles they were playing, and that they would never forget that for getting involved in this game, this drama, this experience. A lot of times we get sucked into the play, the role, and we forget the truth that these are only roles that we've assumed so that each of us can have experiences of what love would have us do in a world of seeming hate and fear. And as these two individual aspects went on this adventure, one forgot that. And they got both sucked up into the drama. And rather than remember that this was just a game and remembering to laugh and not to take it too seriously, got caught up in the game. And I started believing that this person had wronged me. I mistook the role that, in this case, he had played. And my lack of forgiveness and my making it serious, something real, that I was the body and that I had been abused, set us on a negative creation cycle, lifetime after lifetime of abuse and switching roles, one abusing the other being supposedly the victim, and lifetime after lifetime, we came back, reversing those roles, seeking revenge, full of hatred, and trying to make things to balance the scale, so to speak. So we'd sit there and says love makes no comparisons. And I have a lifetime and experience, and I'd feel that I had been wrong, that the slate wasn't even. And I would compare and I would say, this person in this last lifetime was abusing me, was hard on me, was punishing me, didn't love me, didn't respect me, was there to inflict misery on me. And I judged that person. And I saw that person as separate. a separate, autonomous being trying to hurt me, or someone that was preventing my happiness. And I hated that person. And I continued on competing with him to get even, and he with me. When I would punish him in the next lifetime or whatever, he wouldn't realize our original promise that we would not mistake the roles that we had come here to learn, and that we wouldn't take it too seriously. And we'd each forget it. We'd get caught up in the drama, and we'd continue to compare and feel a victim and say, I'm going to victimize you. I'm going to get even. And that hate continued to fuel that separation. When you compete, you have rivals. He became my rival, my greatest nemesis. He was out to get me, and I was out to inflict as much pain as I could, just to balance the slate, I tell myself. But he would always compare, and being the last victim, he would have to come back. And so we repeated, lifetime after lifetime, playing the roles, changing costumes, one being a victim, the next being a victimizer, always doing battle in the same negative creation cycle, never willing to forgive or to reawaken to the truth that I am not a body, I am free. Nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing can rob me of my own inner peace. We gave each other the ability, supposedly, to rob us of our own inner peace. So I harmed him and he harmed me, and we thought we were just doing what came naturally because we perceived ourselves to be separate, and we, our unforgiving minds, wanted to keep each in the prison, not realizing that my desire to keep him in prison meant I had to stay on guard. And sure enough, the next lifetime, he'd break free and he'd put me in the prison. We were both prisoners in the same cell, not of each other's unforgiving minds, but our own. That desire to compare, to judge, to make comparisons, to have rivals, to believe that there were outside forces beyond our control. It robbed me of my peace. It robbed me of my happiness. And it actually made me feel good when I could make him suffer, because after all, I was suffering less than him. So on and on we repeated. Every time after we'd incarnate, we'd maybe go and realize what had happened, but we never could perform when rubber met the road and we were back in that body. We get sucked up into that game of separation, seeking revenge, believing that somehow the slate hadn't been balanced. Within us, though, God had given us this higher self, this awakening, this ability to realize the truth, but we refuse to listen. Rather than turn to, say, to the higher self, what would love have us do? We kept asking, ego, how can I get even? Ego, how have I been hurt? Ego, why am I a victimizer? Ego, why do I have the right to victimize this person? Why do I have it? So we always continue to follow the ego. We forgot, don that costume lifetime after lifetime and forget, even though with each lifetime we were given the opportunity to break that creation cycle. The Holy Spirit was there trying to whisper in our
without
ear.
telling anyone in my household. And then I'm going to come back later to see where all of this powder ends up. But for now, I'm off to Michigan to see the world's longest running evolution experiment. Let's go.
Get sucked in.
So the bacteria are extremely conservative, but there are also billions of them in even a tiny flask. And so if you have a chance in 1,000 of mutating,
I was so bent on arguing for my rightness and claiming my right as a victim to supposedly get even. And I kept myself in a life full of hatred and fear. The choice for freedom was always available to me, but that choice was to accept and listen to the voice of my higher self, saying, what would love have me do? Remember, I am not a body. I am free. Nothing. And that there were no victims. There were no victimizers. We're all willing volunteers in this time-space continuum, this world of perception. And one day I listened and I remember or recall all those past experiences. And it was a great epiphany, a great awakening. Wow, my story of being a victim and a victim and believing that I had the right to hold someone in prison, that was only holding myself in that same prison. And I realized by listening to the voice, forgive and you will be set free. And followed that guidance and opened up the cells of my unforgiving mind. And I realized with gratitude that this person had been my greatest teacher. And with that realization, that broke that cycle, that broke that get even cycle, because I was able to not just see that person and playing a role, but see that person as my teacher, someone who was willing to suffer lifetime after lifetime to play roles so that Tom, the stupid one, could finally get it. How many lifetimes, how much pain and suffering did I inflict upon myself, thinking, of course, I was inflicting it on him, because I wanted to argue for my right, because I wanted to argue for the idea that I am a body and that there are forces outside me that can cause me to lose my inner peace. And so I released that idea of competition. I released that idea of comparison. Whether or not the slate was balanced didn't really matter. I realized that he was my teacher. He was the one that I should be most grateful for he had suffered along with me, lifetime after lifetime, on that journey, so that I could reawaken to that truth and gain my freedom. I am grateful for my biological, this lifetime, father. I'm grateful for all the pain and suffering I caused him, and all the pain and suffering he caused me, because through those roles, I now am free. Through those roles, we realize the truth of what we are. He was what I thought my greatest nemesis. He was my greatest teacher. He was willing to come back lifetime after lifetime so that he could awaken, in this case, his biological child into the truth that this is not the world of hate and fear that we imagine. It can be one of forgiveness, mercy, and love. God has placed within each one of us a voice to guide us back to the truth. And when you look at your lifetime, and perhaps this lifetime, and you think back of people that have supposedly caused you to suffer, perhaps you, like me, have had a agreement dating back from long, long ago that we would help each other reawaken to the truth. They each play roles. They each play roles in each other's play, but each role, at least from our own perspective, is designed for us to reawaken to the truth that nothing outside of ourselves, no other person, no other experience can rob you of your own inner peace. I am not a body. I am free. And it is my gratitude, my forgiveness, my realization that there are no victims. There are no victims. We're all willing volunteers that allows you to be grateful, to be forgiving, and to demonstrate what love would have you do. Within you is that higher voice that would break any negative creation cycle if you choose to listen. Give yourself permission to realize that these actors are merely playing roles for us to reawaken. They are our greatest teacher, and be grateful for the roles that they played so that you could learn that truth, so that you could break that supposed negative creation cycle, unplug that negative energy circuit tied to revenge, hatred, judgment, separation, and gain your freedom. I am not a body, I am free. I am still as God created me. In love is the way I walk in gratitude today. You, as a decision maker, have the ability to pull all those circuits of hate, revenge, belief that someone is hurt, and realize you're on your own perfect journey of real. There's never been anything wrong with you. you remain perfect, whole, and complete. And all these actors are merely playing roles so that we can reawaken to that truth. There is no separation. Love makes no comparison because there is only the one self. And when I forgave my, this time, biological father, you couldn't imagine the blossom that love allows to happen. Whether or not that happened in your situation doesn't matter. You are free, and that other person, they want to learn their lesson. They're on their own perfect path. You can appreciate and love them. And, as I sit here in gratitude, and when over the last few years, I told my father he didn't have to come back here. He had no reason to judge himself, to feel that there was anything more he had to do in regards to self. I told him he didn't have to come back. He could be totally free. And he told me, he says, Tom, I just can't forgive myself yet. I just can't do that. And now I wonder if I have the willingness to come back, if I really am compassionate, if I really have enough gratitude to be willing to come in perhaps another lifetime, another way, and help him forgive himself. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. I know that everybody's on their own perfect path, but sometimes I speculate, what would love have me do? And although I always said, my purpose is never to come back here, I wonder, because of the gratitude that I have for the role he played, if I am willing to play in each other's journey of gently reawakening to the truth of being love in form, to reawaken to our true spiritual magnificence. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. If you feel up to it today, feel free to pull one of those energy circuits of maybe a negative creation cycle for yourself and free yourself of a negative creation cycle. You as decision have that. So for today, think about that and realize that love is the way I walk in gratitude. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in me. Thank you for putting up with my little story. I hope it will help you on your own journey of love and forgiveness. Namaste.
Namaste, Tom. It sure helped me. Thank you very much. think each time we look at this from a different perspective, and Tom, you're a master at bringing us into your perspective for a little bit, just so we can visit and see it from that spot. That helps us develop our own perspectives to be wider and bigger and less personal. That's what we're here to do. So today I am super grateful to be an instrument of God. I am grateful for my place of just being a place to let God breathe through me. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to create art for a living and get paid for it. And maybe everybody doesn't look at it that way, but when I look at it that way, it makes me feel super grateful. It takes all of the restrictions of it being right or wrong out of it. And so it's easier for me to learn and help my my software art grow. Tell me how this is doing for you guys. How's everybody else doing? Oh, and I'll wrap up the streams now too. And unless there's anything anybody wants to say real quick, Papa, if you've got something, or Adriana, if you've got something. No. All right, I'll wrap it up. And we will stay here and have discussion for as long as we want. I'll just wrap these streams up and we're all good. Have a